we're Chris and I are slowly getting this set up, and it's exciting. But this is episode 3.
Wow.
The third one, and we finally are in a groove, hopefully, and it's exciting. So let's cheers to Katherine.
Cheers.
It's like our first date. I'm so nervous.
I better not spill because I'm wearing white pants.
So I was trying to write down what I was going to say about you, but first of all, we met at Parsons, and I just am excited for you to be here, honestly, because I think we have a lot in common. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
And do you remember the first time we met or first time we talked? I have a vivid memory of sitting at the cafeteria in Parsons, and you were I don't know what the conversation was, but it was you're I do YouTube.
Oh no.
And I was like, what? Because at that point, this was what year was this again? Because I always forget. 2018.
18, yeah.
End of 2018.
First year of my life.
What?
First year of my life.
Why?
Well, because the second half was absolute ass, but.
Okay. Anyways, but I remember because I was doing YouTube super seriously at that point, right? Making no money, but it was a part of my life, and I was really excited. And going to art school was oh, I've been doing this art stuff on my own. I want to take the next step. Anyways.
Yeah.
When you said YouTube, I was whoa, I've never met someone who's done YouTube. Because I take it seriously, and I was all right, let me feel this out. What do you do? How many subscribers do you have? And we had that whole conversation.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
It was you were a lot more into it. You're sub counts and how to grow. And I was just I'm just chilling.
I'm such a nerd.
I'm just talking about books most of the time.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, that's a big fault of mine is that I don't really, am not pushing. So then I'm stagnant.
Right. We'll definitely talk about that because I think that's a good and bad thing. But anyways, so yeah, I feel we were in the same class. We had a pretty tight-knit class at Parsons. I was only there for a semester. But because we had so much in common, you also really got me into books. I had this weird love of books, but then, you were really into books. And back then you were doing booktubing.
Yeah.
I didn't even mention any of this, so people don't even know. But Katherine has her own YouTube channel.
No, I don't do books.
You don't do books, and you do lifestyle vlogs of being a young adult in New York City, and you do journaling still, and you're a photographer, and you're majoring photographer in Persian.
Yeah, and I'm an art history minor.
Yeah. Okay, so those are the things that you do professionally. I want to get into that as a young professional. That's the basis of this. I told you of this podcast, talking to young professionals, young creatives in the industry of whatever, but there's a bunch of really epic people who, you have your own platform, but some people don't, but they're super professional and legit and creative. And so this podcast is just to dive in.
Yes.
So I feel that was a pretty all over the place introduction of yourself, but
that was good.
The main thing that I was saying is our connection is just YouTube and the social media life. And so I don't maybe even know. So can we go back to the booktubing? Can you take it back?
Yeah. So I started Booktube in 2016, and I just because I'd always wanted to be a YouTuber because that's
me too, bro.
That was always the content that I consumed. So I wanted to do it too, and it seemed not easy, but it seemed doable. You know how we all have the careers I want to go into,
right.
But I was no, this is something that I can see myself doing, and I would have fun doing. And then I was doing Booktube for a while, but I wasn't like the other girls, and I wasn't talking about all the really popular books.
Right.
So I guess that hindered my growth in that getting really really big. And I also have social anxiety, so I didn't really make friends in the Booktube community because also they're kind of cliquey. But then when I came to New York, I wanted to film my school life and just my life because I like to romanticize everyday life because why not?
No, I do too. It's almost you're a viewer of your own movie and you're the actor. I don't know.
Yeah, so I like to just film aesthetically, and I like to be surrounded by beautiful things. And a lot in art school they're oh, there's deeper meaning in everything, but sometimes I'm I just want to do art for art's sake. And so that's what YouTube can be for me. It's just getting to just create what I want. And
awesome. All right, so in that vein, do you think also that your library collection of videos is almost because the way I think of it, I can only speak from personal experiences, I also think of it as a online portfolio to forever be documented. Obviously I'm trying to be entertaining and blah blah blah, but it's also a permanent kind of archival system of like my work, my process. And so I really like that aspect. Do you have any of those feelings?
Yeah. I mean, I was looking back on some of my previous videos and I recently, because I was like, what do I want to change so I can move forward and like, do what I actually want, and like what's like keeping me back, because I'm just in the habit of doing them. But I don't know. What was the question?
I don't know, just like what you think of YouTube, and like it's a creative
outlet.
I
mean, it's like I'm also a very sentimental person, so I like that I have all of these like memories there, because otherwise like I wouldn't remember them as vividly. So
all right, wait, we need to break this down a little more because we're going too crazy. You are from Belize?
Yes.
You were born there?
Yes.
And when did you come to New York City?
At 17.
Okay, that's pretty late.
Yeah.
I thought you were like 12.
Well, I lived in Vermont when I was 15.
Oh, okay.
And then I moved back, and then I moved to New York.
So that's a pretty big transition, huh?
Yeah. Culture shock.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I like grew up coming to the States all the time because
Okay.
my grandparents live in
Right.
Long Island. So I have like a lot of things that I'm like, oh, yeah, I wouldn't be like a culture shock. But then when I got here, it was very, I mean, it's Vermont. It's like super white, but quite liberal. But, they like say things, but when it like is put into action, you're just like, I feel very much like an outsider.
Sure. And also maybe there's not like a super huge creative scene out there, and you kind of always were like
there was
creative.
in my town.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, there's hippy dippy stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But all right, so cool. And then you always had the interest of going to Parsons. I just want to break it down. I want to get inside of the thinking.
Yeah. So I applied to SCAD and SVA and Pratt. Pratt is where I wanted to go. But I didn't apply to Parsons because my sister had gone to Parsons, and she was like, "You can't get in." She's like, "That's too expensive. You can't get in. You'll never get in."
Thanks, sis.
And so I didn't want to go to SCAD. I got accepted, but I didn't want to go south. And I got accepted to SVA, but I like didn't want to go there either. And I got waitlisted to Pratt, which was devastating because I was like, "That's just a rejection."
Pretty much.
Yeah.
No, I mean.
And so then I went back home after I graduated high school, and I applied to the only school that had a spring program in New York City.
Spring as in like transferring into the spring?
Or like starting in the spring.
Oh, yeah, because that's where we met. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so then I was like, I only applied to Parsons, so I would have been screwed if I hadn't gotten in.
Right.
But it's weird, like everybody's always like, oh, you like the acceptance rate and like the grades and the portfolio, and like once you get in, it's like completely like none of that prepares you or is like that. Yeah. So then I went to Parsons, and
and do you like it? Triggered question. Because I left after one semester. I made a bunch of great friends still that I stay in contact with, only for one semester, and I really enjoyed it, but I totally dipped out.
Yeah, for me afterwards, there was nothing like
after I left, you're like, I can't even code anymore.
There's like no friends. There was just nothing. There was like, I've never had that like same like group, community.
It was like very bizarre almost how close our first. We had like the homeroom.
It was such a variety of people.
Yeah.
Like that was super random. But I haven't had that in another class, but then I also feel like everybody in my class is like really close because after that spring semester, I didn't go to the summer, so I didn't go to fall.
Oh, really?
And you had to take the summer in order to go to fall. So I had to wait till the next spring. So everybody like knows each other, and then I feel like an outsider, and it's like I haven't been close. But I'm grateful that I went to Parsons because I learned a lot of things that I would never done before, because it's very like artistic, and
it's also a really good school.
Yeah, it's like very much like an artsy approach to photography, and how we're like all perverts, and we study that kind of because we're just taking like all photographers do.
It is
take.
very. I mean, if people don't know, and like I don't want to go down the political rabbit hole, but it's extremely progressive school, which I think you've even talked about. It was like gives biases within the learning system or the curriculum, for good or bad or whatever you want to say. But that's something that maybe people don't know going into it. Like I didn't really know. I was such an idiot and a moron. I was like, I want to paint and be an artist. And my mom was like, well, you should go to art school. This is like where I'm from. It's like that's what you do. You go to school, you get a job. I mean, that's like for a lot of the world. But I didn't really look into it. Parsons was the only school I applied to. Luckily got in because I had some connection, whatever. My grades were really good at high school, and it was like the third university actually I went to. But it just wasn't for me. And I get asked a lot, and something I love to talk about is actually my schooling, because after that I went to an atelier for like a full year, which is just like a
that looks super cool.
Yeah, and it was like perfect for me, and it's very becoming a draftsman and just using traditional media. But I'm sure you get equally amount of people hitting you up about school, because you like your main narrative of your YouTube channel isn't Parsons, but it's like an element like this is me going through school, and people love that. I mean, for young adults trying to apply for school, or just literally like watching kids go to school, it's like huge perspective for them applying. So
and I didn't
do you
want
get
like
hit up a lot?
school to be like the main part of my life. I didn't want to be like, oh, I'm going to school in New York. I live in New York and I go to school here. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, I feel like I don't talk that much about school nowadays in my videos. It's because I don't know, I have a hard time. So essentially, I wish that I had the space to drop out at the end of sophomore year, but it just COVID, so I didn't have the and by the time I realized actually I don't want to do this anymore, it was too late. I'm almost crazy. Done. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to do photography like as a career. Like I don't want to do that anymore, because I don't know, you get, not that I had like high expectations of like what photography industry is gonna be so magical,
right?
But it's just like in a way disenchanted. Like, is it like when you figure out like what the deeper meaning behind photography is, and like what's expected from the industry, it's like maybe I don't really want to do that.
That's interesting. I'm really curious about that, because like were you going into Parsons with this photography major idea?
Yeah.
And was it, sorry, let me just elaborate a little to make it more contextual and specific. Like, you wanted to become a professional photographer, or was it just you had a lot of passion and you wanted to dive deeper and that's all you really thought of it, and it wasn't even more than that? And so now has your agenda or passion or thinking changed now that you've gone through it, you've taken those steps, you've majored in it, you've had the experience, you've been in this institution?
Yeah, I went in being like
question.
Well, I was like Parsons because it's a fashion school primarily, like what they're known for. So I was like, oh, if I go to a fashion school for photography because I want to do fashion photography, then like I'll make the connections and find the people, and like those will be my peers once like we got into the real world.
Right.
But then like I don't know, I guess also it's like to the fault of the teachers there. It's kind of like put down fashion photography as being like, I don't know, maybe like sellout type of thing. But I also just found within that like the artistic side, because I had Justine Kurland as a teacher, and so she does a lot of like experimental type of like, she photographs girls and like looking at these topics that I never considered before. So like before I'd wanted to do photography as a job, now I'd rather do it as like an art form primarily, rather than like having to go out and get jobs and shoot people for.
I think that's like a very common thing within young adults going to these art school things. It's like, first of all, it's extremely hard to have a career in these creative outlets, because it's one, super saturated, or extremely niche and small. Nepotism, it's like, it's also it's in the world of subjectivity, so you can't be the best photographer. It's kind of very you know what I mean? So then I feel like people really get bogged down, and then they're like, oh, my agenda of making this my career is kind of been smothered, and now I'm not as passionate as I was. And I think that's super common, and it's super interesting. I'm sure you know of other kids who've gone through that, or change majors constantly and things like that. Yeah.
I mean, if I wasn't doing photography since high school, I would have done history, but I'm like non-academic. I didn't get good grades, especially when I moved to the States and had to do U.S. history. Like, absolutely not. That's like the last thing I want to study. So
I like history, to be honest.
Not U.S. I love history. So if I didn't do photography, I would have done history, but like I didn't have the grades, so I wasn't going to even try and apply.
What do you mean you don't have the grades? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
That's just like the first hurdle. Like once you get past like
that's so dumb.
Acceptance, then you're in and you don't have to
Sounds like a cult.
But
it's just so dumb.
I mean the SAT and like
oh my god, I did so bad on that. Like I you want to know what I got?
Yeah, I was just looking up.
SAT is at 2,700. And the
2,400.
24, and the ACT is 36.
Yeah.
I got a 1300 on my SAT.
Same.
Oh, that's not
Really?
bad.
That's really bad.
I think that's what I got.
No, that's
I
bad.
think it was like 14.
Look at us.
That's 1300s. All right, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I had pretty much straight A's at a private
Yeah.
school.
Mhm.
And so, like, thank God that, like, it's not just the SAT.
Yeah.
But, like, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, not to rip on you guys. I'm pretty sure that's like below average. I mean, maybe for the median of the United States. Anyways, that's really fucking funny. I'm sorry. But, anyways, what were we saying?
Yeah.
Art history, yeah.
So I would have done history. And so when I got to Parsons, I started taking art history. And like, I mean, from the first, you have to take a objects as history class.
That was my favorite class at Parsons.
It was the best. It was like really
Loved
early in the
it.
morning. And everybody slept in it or talked really loudly. And the teacher was the sweetest woman ever.
Did you have Meg or a woman? I had a young woman. I loved
She
her.
was like an older lady.
Oh, you had an older
Yeah. And when I told her the end of class, like it was the last day of class,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I want to like be an art history minor. Like, do you have any like recommendations for classes
Mm-hmm.
or where to start? She was so excited. And I was like, okay, yeah, like this is good. I shall
Nice.
do it.
Yeah.
And last fall was like the best because I had 2 history classes and I had such a good time. Teachers like just really make it because they're so like enthusiastic about history.
Mm-hmm.
And I love when people lecture at me rather than be like, what do you think? That's really intellectual.
Yeah, no, it's like you want the teacher to take control and
Yeah.
say, hey, I'm the master teacher,
Exactly.
instructor. This is what I'm telling you.
So, and then this past spring, I like really struggled and I didn't have any history classes. So I was like, okay, there's this like factor that's missing. And I had a history class every semester since. So I was like, well, maybe I want to do history instead.
That's crazy.
But I didn't do history in the first place was because I was like, what kind of jobs am I going to get with a history degree?
Totally.
Like, I don't know. People are always like, oh, you can work in a museum. And I'm like, how many people can work in a museum? Like, there's only so many jobs.
Okay, but Katherine, you have a job.
Yeah.
You have a
so
sick job.
Now I'm like, okay, now I can do what I want to do.
Bring this sucker closer.
And be like,
You can move it.
okay.
I'm just saying. Gotta get it. But that, not to interrupt you, that perfectly transitions because I also want to talk about YouTube, business side,
Yes.
a young adult entrepreneur. And like, yes, I know those are real things, thinking about your future. And I would never, obviously, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but like, you have this crazy opportunity. Katherine has an awesome YouTube channel. She kills it. She gets viewership and that equals ad revenue for people who don't know. And you just recently opened a web shop with your photography prints. And so there's sponsorships. So there's all these streams of revenue, probably not super large, but you know,
Yeah.
over time they grow and you get new ones and it becomes like a serious, you know, a part-time, if not full-time job.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what I'm going to say other than like, it's almost annoying for me to think that you're trying to like prioritize your dumb history people at Parsons. They're your interests, but like you've built something, right? Like I always love that. And that's why again, like I'm into you because it's like you did it for you, by you, this YouTube channel, your passions, you've built it. It's become successful. It's probably only going to grow if you put more effort into it, but why not double down on that? Why not finish Parsons, gone through it, you've found your passions. I'm not trying to be like motivational slow here, but you know what I mean? Like, and not because that's what I did, but it's like, why not? It's like, you're good at it. I'm assuming you like it. Why not double down with it a little more?
I don't know. I always feel like I can do both because
I think that's
if I
true.
can make the time to procrastinate, which I do a lot, then I have the time to do like both school and
all right. That's a great
YouTube.
answer.
Yeah.
We actually were talking about this on the last podcast with my friends, and I think that's smart. But I think you can, again, this is my perspective looking on you, knowing you a little, is you can lean into it a little more.
Yeah.
Probably,
for
right?
sure. Yeah.
And just because, like, first of all, I think women do way better on social media because there's not as many of them, which is a shame. There are, and like I follow a bunch of girls actually. I follow watercolorists. I know Anja. Is that how you pronounce it?
Anya.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that was brutal. But like, you know, like there's a lot, and they do really well. And like you have this opportunity to really capitalize, not just to speak strictly business, but
Yeah.
it's awesome, especially you're so young. Like, think if you did 3 more years of going like pretty ham and continuing, maybe going to grad school. Bad decision, I think.
Well,
I'm kidding.
Well, also,
I don't
okay,
know.
if I went to grad school, I'd go somewhere else than America. So
Oh wow, that's wild.
I think like I would love to go to Scotland. and like just like the place itself and all to discover and like
St. Andrews is in Scotland, right?
I don't know. I was thinking of like Edinburgh University, something like that. But you never know where life's gonna take you.
I don't know, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to sound like I'm telling you what to do. I'm just venting so hard because I love the YouTuber life, dog.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome. That's wonderful. Why do you hate love triangles?
Because they are ass.
Why? Lay it out for us.
Because
I wish we had like a whiteboard you can just like really explain it, because I feel like they're kind of interesting. I mean, I guess they're like a classic played out trope.
Yeah. I mean, like they had to have happened. They had to have been a big trope for, you know, for me to be like, oh, they're bad. But I think that most of the time authors don't write them in a way that's productive to the story. It slows it down, or they don't flesh it out enough for it to make sense. Within the like romance
so it's
section.
Almost like a hangnail analogy.
It's like, okay, like in the Hunger Games, they don't, like I reread it recently and I was like, she doesn't really flesh this out for it to make sense in the long run. So, and there's like two different types of love triangles though. There's one where like the girl is into both of them. Traditionally it's a girl.
Traditionally, yes.
But, and then there's also ones where like there's some random dude that's like trying to get into this two-way relationship and they're like, what the fuck? And then, you know, it's like a non-issue and that's fine. Like,
so can I throw some in? So you finished Mistborn, right?
Yes.
Well, we're talking about books real quick because we switched real quick, but Katherine is a fantasy nerd as well, got me into it. So we're talking about books. So Mistborn. So Zane, Vin, and Elend.
Zane.
The brother that was with his father, remember? Like
yes.
Okay, got it. Ascension. So is that considered love triangle that was productive?
Yeah.
Because like Zane wasn't trying to go for Vin, but he was like, come with me, like come over here. And there was like, a little romantic thing.
Me. Yeah.
Yeah, and then also she was questioning her relationship with Elend.
Which I think that probably that was productive. Right. Because it was like Zane being like, oh, you're going to save me. But then her being like, but I'm not going to save anybody.
Yeah, or like, I'm so different.
And
like
I'm
also, so different from Elend. Like, we're the same sort of thing.
Contrasting the, like, how she feels, like, for Elend, even though they're so different, but she can still, like, love him.
Right.
And that's, like, important within a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because, like, I haven't read probably as much as you, especially in the, like, romantic genre. I'm trying to think of Stormlight Archive right now, but that was like the main one that I was like, oh well, that's like a little love triangle, but I enjoyed it. Like it worked great because, you know, she felt different.
I almost wouldn't even like reading it. I would have been like, oh, this is a love triangle, canceled.
Yeah.
I feel like it was more so rather than like it being like a love triangle, it was just like a plot.
Yeah. No, I guess I haven't maybe experienced a full blown love triangle.
Yeah.
But there's great. You know, do you watch Daniel Green?
No.
Yeah, you have to have seen him on YouTube, like fantasy news, fantasy. If I pulled up a picture, I'm sure you would recognize him. But I feel like he's like just the expert of everything fantasy, and he does these, you know, those like rankings.
Tier lists.
Yeah, tier lists, exactly. Thank you. And he does great ones about like fantasy tropes, and it was really great.
Yeah, I love fantasy. Like that's all I read.
Yeah. This guy.
No.
Seriously?
I mean, the face looks familiar, but I've never seen a video.
All right. My bad. But yeah, so yeah, I love it. I'm very into it. I'm also trying to read the classics right now. Like I'm trying to go back over like the Iliad. I'm trying to read you know, Divine Comedy by Dante and all that stuff because I'm really into, which is I guess fantasy you could say is like Greek mythology. You know, it's like very like the mythos, the lore, the stories that kind of represent these huge tropes, good versus evil, gods versus mortals, like all this shit, but with all these like elaborate stories that are super entertaining. So
I mean, what I love is that there's always myth within, like mythology within fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much all based off like Greek stories because it's like those are the first stories ever, pretty much. I mean, I'm no anthropologist, but it really is like even Star Wars, like all of these things, you know, it can be led back to kind of like those big stories. But that's why I love it because they're just so epic and they're so gnarly. Like if you also read into it, like all the gods are just like rapists and you know, like just like extreme misogynistic, like just gnarly stories, but they're so ingrained in like our culture. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's trickled down so
like
much.
Trojan condoms, like it just like everything to do with Greek and Roman lore, just like penetrates the zeitgeist of our culture, which is super interesting, and I just like to learn about it.
Yeah,
there's no good podcasts.
There's like I don't really listen to podcasts, but I'll listen to yours for sure.
Yeah, because it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried in the past, usually like history podcasts, but like, I don't know, there's just something, I'd rather watch documentaries.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I just like, no, yeah, I guess documentaries are nice. I mean, I love the video podcast. That's why I'm trying to do the video, because I paint all day and I can just throw it on. And I've said this before in videos, like, I love reading, and you'd be like, oh, why don't you just pop on the Stormlight Archive audiobook that's 1,000 pages, you could just rip through it, but like I need to really pay attention.
Yeah, see, I listen to audiobooks only
I know
now.
You do. I know you do. I can't do it.
And I listen to it on like higher speed, but I process it all, but I always need
while
to be
doing stuff, like while you're journaling, while you're editing?
No, if I'm like reading, or if I'm writing or reading, then I need my brain. But like if I'm like sculpting with clay, then I can listen to an audiobook.
Right.
Or editing too, but then as before music, I can't listen to audiobook while I have music on.
Okay, yeah, so. I understand. Yeah, because I just can't, especially while painting. Like, I can't focus.
Yeah.
And I need to, even with books, I'm such a slow reader that I'll, reread a page, 3 times.
Exactly.
Like, wait, what?
I'm, too slow of a reader to not use audiobooks. So.
And I need to gather all of the information. Do you know what I mean? Like, little games, where you have to collect coins, and you can finish the level with half the coins, but it's you have 10 out of the 20 coins. I have to get all the coins, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I need all the information. I just love it. I love the world building. I love all the little details. Brandon Sanderson is known for just being an information dumper.
Yeah,
but
I feel like with audiobooks though, I get so enveloped in it that it feels like comfort space, and then when it's done, I feel like I have to go back to it. And I don't know, because I haven't read a series in physical book in a long time, but it doesn't feel as consistent as an audiobook within that world.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you reach that flow state quicker almost? Yeah because it takes me a while, but once I'm in that and reading, it's it's like a high.
And
sometimes you forget you're reading.
Sometimes though, I'm just so all over the place that certain types of writing that I just could never have read in a physical format, because just the way that they go on and on, I would not have, I would have had to skip pages. Yeah. But listening to it, I'm forced to listen to it, and I don't feel like skipping it, because I'm somebody's
it's not like a burden.
Yeah.
It's kind of just being delivered.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the one thing. It's really hard, especially with these big books specifically. I mean, I'm such a noob. I'm talking like I'm an expert. I've really only started the fantasy. I know you're shut up, Slew. You don't know shit. But I've also been specifically reading just Brandon Sanderson, and the Stormlight archives are huge. And it's every other chapter is a flashback or a completely different storyline that you just have to rip through. And it's 50 pages every other chapter.
It's brutal like that. I like to
climbing
go linear.
A mountain.
Yeah. I also hate time travel and flashbacks. I cannot do it. I cannot do anything that does with time, because I know that they're going to mess up, and they're going to spend the whole time fixing it. I'm I don't, you could have just not done it in the first place.
I understand, but flashbacks are super annoying. I hate reading through them, but you have to get the backstory, because it adds to the character arc, obviously. But no, it's super, it's stressful. That's why when you get to the good parts, it's there's nothing better. You're wow, this conflict's happening, whatever, Act 3, all this shit is about to just go down. You're oh my God, I put in so much work.
Yeah.
Give it to me. But yeah, that's awesome. Why'd you stop doing booktubing?
Because I wasn't really reading as much because of college, and I don't know. I mean, when I was in high school, I used to be what do people do when they go home? What do they spend their time doing? Because I used to spend my time reading.
Wow.
And so then now I'm what am I doing? If I'm not reading, what am I really doing? But then, because I didn't used to play games or anything. I didn't have a Wii growing up. So, and now I play games, and now I need an audiobook.
Yeah, you're a nerd.
Yeah.
Play Sims.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got a Switch, so I play Splatoon now.
Oh, really? You gotta play the Legend of Zelda. I heard those
Mari got it. My sister got it.
Yeah, I heard it's great.
It was stressful. I was watching. I was behind. I was Googling everything.
Yeah, that's a big game.
Yeah.
Talking about big books, it's a big game, a big RPG.
Yeah, it was fun to watch her play it, but too much for me.
No, I hear you. Wait, I wanted to touch on something. So like, that's pretty interesting that you kind of transitioned from being a booktuber. I mean, also journaling, I feel like, is like the big core. People love it, and you're like so good at it, and like it's something that's niche, I'd say. Would you agree? But like some people, you know, like you're like at the top level, you go crazy, and it's awesome. But like I feel like I haven't had a really major transition in my social media, but I'm trying now with like more lifestyle stuff and me. But you kind of did that. You went from like booktubing and journaling to now like full lifestyle, super aesthetic, like you know, B-roll, just reels almost. I don't want to, you know, put it in a category, but do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so what was that like? Did you even like are analyzing that, or I'm just going too deep into it?
I started journaling first while I was doing booktube because I just felt like it. Like I just threw up my camera.
And you were doing journaling way before this was like a part of your life.
It was. I just threw up a camera and just filmed and then did a voiceover, and then I just so people do like what's it called? Like reading vlogs. So I started doing reading vlogs, but I wasn't fucking reading in any of them. So it was just like a normal vlog, and I enjoyed doing that because I also like the whole like saving these memories for later.
100%.
So I and so it just transitioned into that where I was like doing reading vlogs, but they weren't reading at all. I like because I read so slowly that I wouldn't even finish a book in one video. Yeah. So
that's crazy that people do that.
Yeah. There's this one girl that like read multiple books in like a 24-hour one, and it was so inspiring. Yeah. But I could never do it.
That's savage. I mean, that's just brain melting.
Yeah.
And so you were saying before, it's like, or what we're in the way beginning, I was like, when we first started talking about YouTube way back in Parsons, I was like, view count, subscriber. I was trying to be like an entrepreneur, like fucking douchebag probably. Cause like I actually really
You were like, oh, I overtook you in subscribers.
I did. I set you up. Okay. I was like,
it's fine.
That was like a loving, like, hey, look at us. Past you, bitch. Like, but it's like I really do enjoy the business side of it because first of all, I think it's a really great opportunity to make money, and like I'm not just like a dickhead trying to drive a Ferrari. Like the money I make just goes into facilitating projects like this or bigger projects. But it's also
it's just super cool. Like they could have achieved this.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's like an opportunity that I'm just excited about. And if you're making the videos and you're spending all the time, you might as well look into the analytics a little. Maybe optimize stuff. But you said that you don't, or you didn't used to do that much. Yeah. And that you just kind of did what you want. And I think as important as I just said, being a businessy savvy person, which I know you are now because, you know, you are where you are. But I think it's also really important to not ignore it, but just do exactly what you want. Yeah. Because I've been a victim of a lot, even in, you know, past 2 years where I've started gaining more successes. Like, oh, I need to make this video for this audience, or this video needs to do well, or I need to paint, like I need to spend a whole week on a painting for this person to be received well, to do well on social media. And it's so fucking toxic, and it's like just destructive. And it's like there's a balance, I think, with especially, I mean, this is for the stuff I do. I'm not trying to group you in, but it's like it is smart to, you know, play the social media algorithm, to feel creatively fulfilled, to do all the things you desire. You know, it's a pie chart. It's not just black and white. But, you know, too often I was going towards like, oh, what's going to get a lot of views, or what's going to behoove like the view count. And it's just so bad. And I feel like when I do the things I really want to do, like an oil painting or like the self-portrait, it's like they end up doing better anyways when I do what I want, which is such a fucking paradox.
And that's what everybody says all the time, but then yet they still go and do what they think.
It's so terrible.
Yeah.
It's so terrible.
I mean, I like to, I guess the way I think about it is I do what I want from other people sometimes. Like my favorite creators, I'm like, they're not doing this. I want to do it then. Like I can do it, so I'll just do it. I'll produce that myself. So that, I guess that's kind of like what I think about like in making. And I'll make what I make, and then I will want people to like it afterwards. Of course. I won't make it because I'm like, oh, people will want this, which is probably my downfall in like growth, because I don't make as much as what people might want. And also I guess I'm like really bad at marketing, because like I don't know, but my thumbnail, I feel like thumbnails are like the first thing.
It is.
Like,
It's the most important. Title also.
Yeah.
It's extremely, sadly important.
My titles are really obscure, and I just sit there forever trying to figure it out. I'm like,
yeah, I think your titles are a little obscure, but like mine too, dude. And the thing is, it's like I'm saying this as if I'm some expert genie. It's like I don't know shit
I mean, it's
either.
your experience, but
and like
that's valid.
I spend like a week, like I have like written things over there of like notes of what videos I need to record, and like, oh, I'll spend a week thinking about a title.
Yeah.
And like be like, all right, this is it. Like this is the catchy one. And then the video, and it's just like you don't know. You know, it's just the toxic thing. People who don't really are listening don't understand like the pressure and YouTube and whole. You know, it's sad because it's like I say this a lot also. Like even if you're Steven Spielberg, even if you're a professional director with the biggest budget video, you put a video on YouTube. The most important thing to get people to click on is the thumbnail and title. The video doesn't matter. You need to get them.
I almost feel like title, for me at least, when it's like already showed up in my feed, isn't as important. It's more so the thumbnail. Like that's just like I'm a visual person. I'm not going to read the.
I think you're right. And like it tends like they make the thumbnails bigger for the past 3 years. Like it's you're right. It's
so I rather. Like now I've spent more time on thumbnails because I'm also really bad at like design and layout.
No, I think you're pretty good.
Now I've been
titles,
making I've been making more of an effort recently to be better at that.
I see it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just a bummer thing, but it's part of the game, and that's like I'm not complaining. I'm just fucking venting, but it's part of the game. You got to play the game. And it's interesting. And even like with Chris here, like we've been talking, like I'm trying to fully do way more different stuff, like do clips, do TikTok. You know, it's like I'm trying to really dive into like the very whorish world of this social media, which is, you know, somewhat toxic, but it's also, again, this opportunity to, you know, build a following, create income to facilitate the things I want to do, which then hopefully people like, and then it perpetuates that cycle. And I
mean, it's toxic for the creator, but it's enjoyable for the viewers. Hopefully. Like, I know I'm so glad when my favorite creators are making all the things, and I'm like, yes, I want more. Too. I want to see it.
I want all of it.
Yeah.
I love it. Like, oh. So, yeah, that's maybe an insight. And, like, it's so, I mean, I know you know this, but I think a lot of people don't know that. And, like, it's, like, pretty, and it's like, why are you complaining? Especially I moved into this massive studio, and they're like, well, you can't complain. Like, and I it's hard to complain.
But it's just, like, precarious. You always have to be thinking about these things.
It's weird. And also, I think maybe you're similar, but I put a lot of pressure on myself, and, like, it's very, like, this is my life. It's my passion. It's my life. It's not my job. It's, like, there are no compartments, which I think you should have sometimes. So it's all in one basket.
Yeah. I mean, I film my life, so it's very mixed in. But because I procrastinate so much, I have this like weird separation.
You're so meticulous.
I get things done by the end. Like if there's a time to finish, then I will meet that. But like I will do everything in my power. So what is like a
procrastination example? Like you just play Sims, or you just chill with your dog, Rocky? Yeah.
I watch YouTube videos and I play Splatoon.
Okay, so you just do nothing. You just like veg out.
Yeah. Or I'll just sit there and be like, what do I do with myself? Even though I know perfectly well that I have, like, I'm editing my vlog.
There's always stuff to do.
Went to Belize, and it's just giving too much anxiety. I'm like, no, mental health. Like, I don't want anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being your own boss, you can push the upload date back. You can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
So that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like all of the success is on our shoulders, but also all the adversity and the pressure. So it's like it's a one-man army of concoction of emotions.
Yeah.
And there's no institution. This is what I talk about also, or not really talk about, maybe just talk to myself about. It's like, it's pretty, not easy, but it's very familiar. For example, being at Parsons, it's like you're a student. You show up to classes. There's people, you know, kind of telling you what to do and you're being responsible for, and you show up and you do your work. And yes, it's hard. There could be heavy workloads, heavy assignment loads, stress within everyone's life, obviously. But it's different when there is no institution and it's all up to you. You know, like anyone has never told you what to do for a video, how to edit, taught you to do whatever. So it's like it's very nebulous, and it could get easily, you know, you could be really lazy and you don't get in trouble, or you can work super hard and like reap the benefits singularly. It's a weird world.
It's a sponsorship and you have to get it out.
I hate sponsorships. Hopefully we'll get some for the podcast. They're so brutal, dude. It's like, oh, I hate them.
I'm like, yes, please buy this.
You got Skillshare.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well,
how much you get paid for them? We can bleep this out.
Did
you bargain?
Yes, and it was really bad. But
Dude,
I was like, at the time, I was like, I really need this because I was between a rock and a hard place. But like, I was just like, but then the thing is, I was like, I can do as minimal effort as I can.
Yeah, they're pretty easy. You know, it takes like 20 minutes to record.
But because you had said how much you got from.
What did I say? What number?
You for 100,000 subscribers, and then I brought that up to them. I was like, you have paid somebody that's not even like that much higher. So then you were at 100,000.
Savage.
And I was like, I'm not gonna, like, this is my rate, like that's it.
Yeah.
And they were like, no. And I was like, well,
I need the money.
Bye. And they were like, please. And I was like, okay, fine.
Yeah, it's hard. What I do now, and like I went through this a lot, and I'm still not an expert, but I've gotten way better because I've done a lot of negotiating the past like just 6 months, and a lot of sponsorships are offering me, and I pretty much say no because it's just so much more work, and like I'm so busy doing all this other shit that I can't like do your script. I did this other sponsorship for, I'm not gonna say the name, but like they're great, and it was good money, but like I had to send them 4 editions of the video. 2 weeks in advance of the upload date that we agreed on. I had to blur out the most random shit of logos, and it was like I was like, this is so brutal. Whereas the others like Skillshare, it's super pretty mellow and you just give it out.
I like Book of the Month a lot because they're super respectful of me and my time.
Bro.
And they offered me above my rate, and I was like, because my sister helped me and she prepared me because I spoke to them on the phone, and I was like, they said the rate, and I was like, that's good. Yeah. I like didn't know, we didn't prepare for like what if they said the like higher than. So that was really nice. What I
do now, and like I get a lot, I'm sure you do get random ones. I get like green tea face cream, like I'm just like, what? But
face tea,
face cream, green tea face cream, like literally the randomest shit. And I'm not complaining, but always what I do is I have a rate of what I would take. It's around, I'm not going to say it because why not? But because I don't want to. But I always at least double it when they say. Yeah. Because they always ask you. They never, because especially if they say, hey, we're going to offer you $1,000, it's way easier to be like, no, you know, my rate's like $2,000. So when they ask me my quote, like 90-second integration, you know, call to action, the normal fucking schneisen, I highball the boobs out of them because that's what you have to do because they're working with a budget. I have a friend who works in that world where they offer creators, and it's like they have a budget. You always have to
my sister is always like, she feels terrible that they'll give her a rate and it'll be so below what they have in their budget.
I know.
And she's just like, why did you do that? Like, why aren't you asking for more? And so that's why I was like, well, I can ask for this, like, because you also then you have to think about all of the work that you put into this stupid video, or just this video for them.
Totally. But
and it's like your creation that you're just like, now you have a section within this.
And it's not just the video. It's like you built the following for years, because you have to think about this is an advertiser's wet dream. You booktubing, journaling, whatever, me, art, like it's the most target audience. Like there's never been a time in, you know, content and traditional television, movies, or like ads on the Super Bowl, but it's like now there's these creators with massive platforms that have individual followers with super similar like-minded interests. Like the target audience for these advertisers is, their conversion rates are so much higher for the amount of money they're spending. It's crazy.
My sister's always like, do you know how much money they make from that little integration? It outpaces it, like what they paid you. So I would never feel bad, and I don't feel bad highballing the shit out of them. And then they say, oh, we can't do that, and I'm like, all right, you reached out to me, like I don't care, like sorry, this is what I'm gonna do. But it also is, at the same time, it's good money and it's pretty easy, and especially I don't want to sound pompous, like we're just talking about money as if it's like growing on trees, but it really does help me. Like it's a massive source of my income in terms of like making these videos happen. So like I do like to work with sponsors, and it's awesome. I signed a year contract with Skillshare, which was pretty crazy. I just renewed for 6 months with Book of the Month.
Hell yeah. That's great. And do you have a guarantee, and then is there a bonus with like conversions, or is it just a upfront?
Just upfront.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what was I gonna say? I don't remember.
Something about your sister manager.
Yeah, it's stressful.
That's pretty great.
Well, I just have a lot of like social anxiety in the context of like texting. Like you can probably tell that like I just don't know how to answer.
Well, I mean, what is the right answer?
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not looking like, oh, Katherine just didn't say that.
Yeah.
You're just a little into
I don't. I just sometimes I'm like,
I
see it there and I know I should answer, but then I'm like, but what do I answer?
So
I don't know.
you're saying this within sponsorships?
No, I'm just saying with the sister manager
okay.
thingy. But I was gonna say that like you always get those people, and like haters, but like people that are like, yeah, sponsorship, how dare you? But like for watching YouTube, after watching YouTube for so long, I feel so like happy for like my whoever I watch. I'm like, yeah, you got it. You're making money.
Totally,
like,
dude.
And then it's like you don't have to watch the sponsorship you don't want to. Like it's so simple.
It's baffling.
Yeah.
I mean, you just literally hit your little arrow key and you skip forward.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
it's
like
so
how,
easy.
like I said, how much it helps us, how much it helps
Exactly.
you. Even like talking for 20 minutes, you have that's awesome.
Yeah.
And hey, you like this content? Well, there's going to be even fucking more because I'm getting paid now by these nice people.
Exactly. Like one of my favorite creators, like Furry Little Peach, she like had most of her
What's
videos.
Her name? Sorry.
Furry Little Peach.
Furry Little Peach.
Yeah.
Peaches are furry.
Yeah, they are. She's like Australian, but all of her videos, every single one she uploaded, and she didn't upload frequently at all. She's an artist. And I felt so grateful that like she had a sponsorship for every single video, because then clearly like that's why she's even making a video.
Right.
So I was just like, yeah, like then I get this content.
I just don't. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like maybe it was a new kind of thing like 2-3 years ago, but it's so normal now, and especially it's like you're a full-time student, like.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in life, and to get supplemented with cash flow for the audience that you built.
Yeah.
As a 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old, like that's the dream. And people who actually enjoy your videos or just are normal, nice, compassionate people should be like, hey, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like you said. I mean, I don't want to be a sellout.
Yeah.
Like I think there's a point, like on my Instagram, I never do advertisement.
Yeah.
Like I've been offered like do story. I don't know if you've done that.
No. Well, I mean, I'm just doing my first one in like a month.
Nice. Yeah. I'm interested in that because I don't want that. I want Instagram
to be
really.
Because I don't like market my Instagram like hard, or I don't post things all the time.
Right.
But it was just part of the like agreement. So I was like, whatever, like I'll do it. Because it's also like compelling content that I can still make. It's not like, oh, like this is an ad.
If it aligns with your thing, it's like even better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How long have we been doing, Chris?
50 minutes.
Okay, we got plenty of time left.
Yeah. I mean, I remember getting my first paycheck from AdSense, and it had to go to my dad because I was underage.
From Google.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think I
like,
framed mine. I'm not kidding.
I don't know. My dad was super proud of me though, because he had to get it, but he was like, wow, because he had to send it to me too. I don't know. America is so complicated. I don't know.
But aren't you a citizen?
Yeah.
Don't you have your own bank? You have probably a business
now I
account.
do.
Do you have a business account?
No.
Are you an LLC? Like, are you?
Yeah, I just created my LLC, but
get a bank account.
Yeah, but they say you have to have like a $5,000 minum, and I'm like, oh, $5,000 for this. About that.
But anyways.
Yeah, I mean the ones I was looking at.
No, you're in it, dude. You're legit. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
But what were you saying? Sorry. What were you saying?
I don't know. Just like getting to like be paid for like what you like to do.
The first YouTube check, dude. Yeah. I swear to anything, like. It was my dream to be a YouTuber. Like, people don't know, and I'm not trying to like crystallize my obsession with YouTube, but like I feel like if like Google took my account and like somehow expanded all the videos I've watched and the amount of hours I watched, I would be like top 10,000 on planet Earth. Yeah. I'm not kidding. Like fully.
It like maxes out at like 5,000 likes of like videos that you've liked, and I'm like, I wonder what the real number is. Yeah.
I just like the amount of videos I've watched and hours put in, but like also with the hope and dream to be like, oh, I love this. I would love to do this.
Yeah.
You know, like I would love to do this. I had fingerboarding channel. I had a graffiti channel. I had like sketches with my friends. I had skateboarding. Like I've had like 7 channels and I've always filmed. And getting that plaque right behind you was literally
I know,
like
that's what I'm waiting for.
one of the best days in my life.
I cannot wait.
I couldn't believe it. It's like, and like I'm very analytical. Yeah, take it in.
I need my name on that one.
No, you applied to get
And
it,
it's
right?
like really, no, I'm not at,
Oh, you're like 80 something.
yes.
You're gonna get it. You're
I'm
gonna get it real
literally
soon.
stuck for like 2 months. It's,
Dude,
I mean, I
do
don't,
5 journal videos in a row.
it's
Boom.
not even, it's not even like about the number, but I feel like I would just
No.
like to hit that milestone and pass
Well,
it.
it's a huge milestone.
Yeah.
It's not about the number. It's a milestone for your work and the energy and the excitement, and it's like a weird novel.
Yeah, it's
you
like,
know, item,
and plus I
but-
love material things.
Sure,
like,
yeah, no, of
I'm a
course.
maximalist, so I would love to have it.
Tchotchkes. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Tchotchkes. Look at all these tchotchkes.
I don't know what tchotchkes mean, but
You know what tchotchkes are, right, Chris?
It's just like fun little
Yeah,
things.
it's just little
to
things. You have all of
around.
them. Your little
Yeah.
plants. What are they called? Little.
trinkets.
No. Yeah. It's exactly the same
Yeah.
as a trinket, a tchotchke, but it's more fun to say.
Sure.
But yeah, no, like I remember because I left before I went to Parsons. Actually, I left a school I was at. I went to like a Buddhist university after traveling in Southeast Asia, and this is when I was 20. Your age, probably 20. You're 21, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was 21, and so I moved back home and I was working at a restaurant,
21.
and I have these vivid memories of conversations with my mom on the couch. She's like, you should probably go back to school. I was working at this restaurant for like 2 years when I built my old studio. And I'm like, this is when I had like 5,000 subscribers. I was getting maybe 200 views on YouTube, but I was giving it like a lot of effort because I loved it. I just loved working with video. And I remember telling my mom, being like, Mom, like, I really like this. Like, I think it can work out one day, like one day. Like, I think I could do this. Like, this was probably 2017 or 16. And the fact that like I stayed through it, and it's like, again, not to like toot my own horn, but it's like respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's fucking awesome. And it's like, so like the fact that just random people with interests, you could do it. Like the accessibility of the internet, again, there's toxicity and saturation, and it's pretty, anyways.
Yeah.
It's,
I mean,
like,
I
pretty
could tell when
amazing.
you buckled down and like got to it. It was like interesting content, even though I don't like watch art YouTubers or used to. Like, what, like I saw that and I was like, okay, he's like doing it, and then here it is. It's like fruitful, and that's exciting.
Fruits, baby. I should have written this down, but I want to do like a quick fire session of like fantasy or just like favorite, or so just no pressure, but just try to answer quickly. So favorite Disney Channel original movie?
The Cinderella like live action.
Really?
Yeah, and then Rapunzel.
Okay, favorite Disney Channel soundtrack.
Oh.
So different from the movie.
Yeah. Maybe, as much as I would hate to say this, Pocahontas, because Pocahontas
Really?
bad.
Yeah.
But the Colors of the Wind, like, oh, so good.
Yeah, but there's so many other great
I know,
ones. I
but
followed your Disney Channel playlist.
On Spotify.
Mhm.
Oh my God, I used to obsess with that in 2018 summer.
Like that
only thing I
acapella
was
guy,
singing.
like know everywhere to both of those.
Yes, of course.
All three of them.
Yeah.
I think
Ever After.
even though this is your interview, I would say mine is probably Hercules.
Oh yeah,
Both
for sure.
soundtrack and my favorite movie.
My sister and I just watched the movie recently, and she was like, "Why do you know all the words?"
I think it's genius. Like I just literally love it. It's not because of Danny DeVito either. It's just like, it's just so good.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
Zero
saw a
to
picture
Hero.
of Danny DeVito when I was walking here.
Really?
Yeah.
Like a big plaster up or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like camera store.
I mean, he's like a meme, but he's also, people don't know that role like is historic.
It's like what, but yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Also, what is, all right, non-animated favorite fantasy book series? All right, so we'll go book series. Favorite book fantasy series. And it could, I mean, Harry Potter's book and movie, but it's like,
Yeah.
We'll differentiate them.
Stolen Songbird,
Ooh.
which is like a romance, but it's also fantasy.
Really?
But yeah,
Is it one or is it
it's three?
Three.
It used to be like my all-time favorite, but then I was like, okay, I've grown older. Like maybe my tastes have changed. And I was reading the first book again, and I was like, wait, I still like this. Like it's good. So yeah, probably that, and then like Mistborn, that has like come up, and then Raven Cycle. Yeah.
Mistborn's so good.
Yeah.
I got my mom to read it. Did I tell you that? I don't know if I was so flabbergasted with how much I liked it. And my
Yeah.
mom's like a really great reader. She just like kind of reads it all the time. And I'm like, Mom, you should try this. And she's not a fantasy type. And she just ripped it, loved it.
Yeah.
And it's like, there was the only person I could literally vent and talk to, because it's like none of my friends all my friends are morons. They don't read, you know, like they're uncultured
Yeah.
people. Just kidding. But yeah, I love Miss Martin. All right, favorite movie, fantasy series, movie, or you know, series, or I don't know if you're into movies. I'm very into movies.
Yeah, but I think probably just Harry Potter.
Yeah.
No, Twilight.
Oh, really? Because
Yeah.
you just watched it?
Yeah. Well, no, I watch Twilight all the time.
Oh, I
That's
thought you
my
were just, like, recently into
comfort.
it.
No,
Really?
my sister was into it when it came out, and then
Dude,
recently.
Harry Potter is eons above.
No, I'm
that.
talking about Twilight. Oh, yeah.
No,
yeah.
Harry Potter.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's
The
your
thing-
subjective opinion. But
The
I'll
thing
rip
with
on you a
Twilight
little.
is like people love to hate it because it's a girls thing. So I was like, what? I'm not gonna be like other people. But then like actually like obviously I know that it's like super problematic, but because I know that, I think that I can enjoy it regardless.
No, I think it hits those marks exactly. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it tends to female romance
Yeah.
in general.
I love
but
it because
it hits
of
the beats.
I love it because of the aesthetics and the
Yeah.
soundtrack is so
Really?
good.
Yeah,
It's just so good.
I don't remember. I couldn't say, but I
Yeah.
believe you.
Yeah.
I remember watching all three, but yeah, it's not
It's
my
4.
favorite. I want to do like a more specific,
5.
like, what's like your favorite villain in
See,
a fantasy?
For a long time, I used to have problems with like liking villains, and then everybody started liking villains. And I was like,
They're
okay,
the best.
like I have to see it from their perspective, but probably like Bellatrix, like
Really?
but only movie Bellatrix. Like Helena Bonham Carter, like did it her so good
Wow.
that I was like, okay, I like you.
Yeah.
When before in the books, I was like, ooh, terrible.
Wow, that is so
Yeah.
interesting. I think because that's really what I was gonna say. I think probably even in movies, I'm not just talking about the Harry Potter novels but like the actor who played Voldemort, forget his name.
So, Ralph Fiennes.
Yeah, I think it is one of the best portrayals of a villain ever. And I
So
know it's
good.
a kid movie, PG-13, but it's like amazing.
That's what's so like
Amazing.
magical about Harry Potter is it's not only for kids.
No, yeah.
Like it really holds up. 'Cause, I mean, I
the
was
later
just
movies
listening.
are more adulty than the first.
Yeah, I was just
couple.
listening to Order of the Phoenix right before I got here,
Mhm.
and then
Dang.
I finished that. So I mean, I listen to that all the time because it's just comfort. I mean, I only used to reread it during the summer, but then now I just listen to it whenever because it's comfort.
Because like how they lay it out, it's like they talk about him, he shall not be named, and like he doesn't even come into the picture till the
Yeah.
second and
They
third
like build
movie
it up so much. Yeah.
That and then it's just really amazing. And like I'm trying to think of.
Did you finish the books?
No. I mean, I read the books when I was younger.
Yeah.
Like way younger. I probably don't remember anything. And then, like I said before,
Yeah,
when we
you were
mixing
reading
drinks,
it.
like I started when I had food poisoning, read like 100 pages in a day, and then it's like
Yeah,
have
you
to
were
watch-
Snapchatting me about it.
I have to watch the movies and just like binged it.
I've
because
watched
I'm
them all in
obsessed.
one day once, and that was brutal.
That's
I woke up at
crazy.
6 a.m. for
Yeah.
it.
I'll do like 2 in a night, and it's like 5 hours. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
But I respect it because like I said, we were saying before, once I'm in that world, same with Star Wars, same with Game of Thrones, we were saying, like anything, Matrix, like I can't stop at the first one. It's like I have to keep going. I have to keep enveloping myself in the world because it's just so good. And when it's good, it's good. And Voldemort, Ralph Fiennes,
Yeah.
is like one of the best portrayals. I think also, sadly, it's only one book. The Lord Ruler in Mistborn, the first book, The Final Empire. What is
Mhm.
it? That's The Final Empire?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was great.
Yeah, that was super.
And it was pretty mysterious, and you didn't really get to know him. Like, he almost wasn't a
Yeah.
character, but it was more of like the conception of him. I thought
yeah.
was really well
and also
done.
that idea of like oppression and
Yeah.
corruption and power.
Right, but also that
Yeah.
that was important to hold back
Yeah.
all this other stuff you find out. So I
Mhm.
thought that was actually like really well done.
Yeah.
Um,
I love fantasy, and I love how much people can create within that world.
mhm.
Yeah. So I think that's why I keep coming back to it. And plus, like, I don't want to be. I live in the real world. I don't care to
No,
read
me
about
too.
other
That's
random
why-
people.
Yeah, no, like that's why I don't like documentary. Like my sisters, I know you said you documentaries for like history stuff, but my sisters, and same with millions of others, are obsessed with like crime,
Oh,
murder
yeah.
mysteries. and
There's
it's
like this whole like TikTok thing where it's like, oh, girls that love true crime like documentaries, but like because I'm so paranoid in life that I just want to know how
Yeah.
to deal with these things.
No, and it's interesting, the psychology of murderers, and it is interesting. But no, I'm completely the same. It's like I want someone to just work so hard to build another world to be so transported to with lore and history and, you know, lineage and just like every element. It's like amazing. Like, you've read The Lord of the Rings?
I don't think
Have
I
you?
finished it.
No?
But
You've
I
seen the
started
movie-
it.
you've seen
Yeah,
the
I've seen
movies?
all the,
Yeah.
we just watched it at the beginning of the year. That was like our
Okay.
New Year's activity, was
Right.
watching all of them.
Because that's only 3 books. I mean, The
Yeah.
Hobbit, if you count The Hobbit, but like that is an immense amount of information, lineage, characters, and just like story arc, like packed in 3 books. So well done. It's like, it's really amazing. And like people are like, I don't like fantasy. Like some of my friends are like,
Yeah.
I've never seen Lord of the Rings, which is like pretty blasphemous. But it's like, you can't not respect the work that goes into not only telling that story, but creating
Yeah.
the metaphysical, you know, tchotchkes of, you know, a fantasy novel. And so, yeah, I love it. I can't get enough, honestly. And I don't see myself reading anything else.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that time that takes so much time to read. It's like, yeah, I'm reading the Iliad and the Greek mythology because I love that shit. But it's like, I'm not going to read a novel. My mom was like, I just read this novel. It's great. I'm like, you missed me with that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not
I
gonna
like
read
tend
that.
to stay away from standalones because I need more.
Yeah, no, it's 100%.
And then, I mean, because I also read a lot of young adult fantasy. But the thing with that is that they get so popular that the authors are like, yeah, we'll just continue this series. And then it makes no sense afterwards.
Yeah.
And I just hate how.
That's sad.
That's like
the sellout. That's the sellout.
That's
point.
the part I hate about book, like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But I also like how there's more room for diversity within a fantasy world than there is like a contemporary.
Diversity, like what?
Like different characters, skin colors. But I mean, I was just talking to my friend about this because she used to do Booktube. But like how people are always like so focused on diversity, but then it's like I don't even know where I'm going with this, but like people are so focused on having diverse books, but they don't even care about who's actually writing it and if they should be writing it. But I feel like in a fantasy world, there's so much more room to experiment with that without having to step on other people's experiences in contemporary life, because a lot of contemporary books are like really popular, and it's just like it's like really fetishizing types of people, and so that's why I like tend to stay away from contemporary. And
the fantasy is like, yeah, those issues can arise, but it's
Yeah.
like in the world you build, so it's kind of like
yeah
yeah
like you have the power, and then you can approach it and solve it in a
Totally.
constructive way that like can still resonate with people today.
totally. And I think that's a great, because like I know that people talk about even in newer fantasy authors, I don't know what I'm trying to name drop right now, like Joe Abercrombie, or there's this other, have you heard of the Poppy War, Seed War, that where like mental health is a huge like arc of this story,
which is important, especially for fantasy, because it's so intense.
Yeah, but it's new. It's like they didn't have like Lord of the Rings, like I mean all the classic, I don't know if you know the other famous Wheel of Time, like all of these mega Song of Ice and Fire, Fire and Ice.
Ice and Fire.
Fire.
Fireflies.
Anyways, but so it's like these new things, even Brandon Sanderson, like there's huge mental things with Stormlight Archives or Vin in Mistborn, which is really interesting, and it's relatable. It's like this crazy new world that, you know, but it's like these relatable characters. I think that's just an extremely strong aspect to the storytelling.
And it's more impactful for like certain people, because I mean, back during Booktube days, people would always be like, oh, recommend me a book then, and I'd be like, I don't know, like, because I used to hate reading, and then I found fantasy, and then I was like, this is it. So like I don't want to be responsible for somebody who like would never like fantasy, and I would be like, read this.
Well, shame on those people.
Yeah,
Not
I
even
mean,
taste
like,
the flavors.
my favorite book is like Stolen Songbird, but I don't know if I could recommend it based on like what I know about a person. Like, if you're a masculine person, I wouldn't recommend it to them because like it's a romance, and like maybe they wouldn't like it, and I don't want that to be the first impression that they have, and then they'll never read again. So like I think that like the Mistborn trilogy is like really good, like base, like
Totally.
although it's not like super easy fantasy to follow along with.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's still like interesting, compelling, and like
a good entry perhaps into the realm.
like high fantasy. That's high fantasy.
No, you're completely right. That's the word that I'm going to get tattooed on my neck. But it's like very digestible, and it's like, oh, dude, I recommend it to everyone. And do you read reviews? We're going to get off the fantasy tip in a second because this is just this is so like gluttonous for myself. I'm having a wonderful time. But like, do you read the reviews? Like how I started Mistborn is because I had the itch. I had just finished The Lord of the Rings. I was like, wow, I love this. Like, I want more. Let me dive out. And so I went on Goodreads, and like Mistborn was the highest rated. And like, I guess I'm just like a mob follower. And I was like, okay, everyone unanimously thinks this is amazing.
Yeah.
I should read it. Do you do that?
The thing with Booktube is that, and I don't watch that much Booktube anymore, but like recently I've been like, it feels so comfortable. Like, let me watch some more. But like, they would recommend this book, but they would always like frame it in a way that like, now that I've read it, I'm like, why did you say it like that? Like, that sounds... that's not interesting, because they're like, oh, if you ingest metals, then you have powers. Like, that's not... I'm like, whatever. Like, I don't care. But now that I've read it, I'm like, it's so much more that, and you like reduced it to that. Like, but yeah, I read reviews, but mostly just to find things that, like, if there's a love triangle in it, then they'll mention it in the review, and like, I'm like, okay, I don't want to read this. If there's time travel and it's not really mentioned, like how it worked within the synopsis, I'll be like, let me look at a review. Yeah. But my Goodreads has become super like, because you can add friends, and I've had it listed forever, and so now all my reviews are only from people that I like have friended
and respect and have similar interests.
I don't even know, like, they're just people that follow me. Okay. But sometimes I'm like, okay, well then you follow me, maybe you, but then what if we're different? I don't know. And then I can't find like random people's reviews. So
yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, it's another thing of subjectivity. It's like even like within Mistborn, people are like, what's your favorite? And people say the first one is their favorite, or the third one is their favorite, and like, it's like,
yeah,
I know which one
is my favorite.
Really? Second one is Well of Ascension is my favorite.
Yeah.
Like,
the third one, no.
Yeah, no, the third one was not my least favorite. Still great, but relative.
Yeah.
I mean, also what people know, this is just a giant advertisement for Mistborn. Chris, now you have to read it. But the first book of Mistborn is a standalone, which is really interesting. It is. Because you have the resolution with the Lord Ruler, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, see, I couldn't remember just now. I was like, did that happen in the first book?
Yeah. No, so it is. It is a standalone, and it's like Brandon Sanderson being a genius, being like, hey, you could just read this and be good and be satisfied with an amazing story. Or, hey, I got 2 more to just sink your motherfucking fangs in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like reviews like that, it's like people, even for like Stormlight Archive, which people are like literally, it's like the Beatles, it's like people lose their fucking diapers over these books, and it's like people are like analyzing every second, and like I get so swayed. They're like, you know what, Oathbringer, the third book, is like, it wasn't my favorite, it was pretty slow compared to the first two. I'm like, oh shit, like, no, I don't want to read it. But it's like, it's still amazing. It's just this one person's opinion, so it's easy to get swayed.
Yeah. I mean, I read this like kind of ridiculous book. It's like this romance, like kind of erotic, but it's like all over TikTok.
Oh, really?
But there's a series called A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I used to shit on this series. I read like a quarter of it maybe, and I never do this because I'm like, oh, it could turn around in the second half of the book, like I'm never gonna review a book. But I used to shit on it because I was like, this is not good. And it's marketed towards young adults when it's like
risque.
Yeah, it's a new adult book. But then I read it and I was like, this is actually good for what it is. Like, it's definitely it's not amazing, but it's like a comfort book. And then so I was like, okay, that wasn't as terrible as I thought it was, so let me read this other series that everybody's talking about, even if it's like really shit, because it probably would be, because like TikTok is all like raving about it. It's like, I don't even know what it's called, like I think maybe From Blood and Ash is what it's called. But that one's like super like and but it was like, and just the writing style, it wasn't like good storytelling, it was more so like just like talking most of the time. But it was more realistic, compelling, in the way that like if you were plopped into these crazy circumstances, you would be asking a lot of questions, and like that's a lot of what's happening in the book. So like the thing with reviewing books is like, I know that like this is a specific type, and like I can't hate it for that, because I know what it's trying to do.
No, you give it I mean, it has to be based in some sort of like system of category to be able to be reviewed, you know, like some people are like world builders, some people are like character driven, and some people are just like, this book From Blood and Ash is just more like, totally, here's something to listen to or read. You're a true connoisseur. I feel blessed to be in your presence. But even people talk about like the style of writing, like Tolkien in Lord of the Rings is like extremely thick, kind of
also from
difficult.
what time he's from. Like, he's from the 40s. Like,
and that Brandon Sanderson is information dump, but it's like very accessible. It's not a hard read. Even you see these 1,000-page books, it's actually very like consumable. So it's interesting, all that. I have a couple gifts for you.
Oh. I love gifts.
So first is just a hoodie.
Oh my goodness. I remember,
swag hoodie.
I don't know what was going on in my life. I was like, wait, he has apparel now?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know who I made this with? Ruben. And Ruben is our other friend from Parsons, who I am very
Wait,
good
does he have a
friends
shop now? Like,
with.
in
Dude,
person?
You haven't been following him?
Yeah, but...
not in person, but he did a couple pop-ups. But
pop-ups,
Ruben
that's what I thought.
Is killing it, dude. Swag. It's a medium. If you want a small, I have more, but I thought medium would be good.
I like big clothes.
Was that big on you? I mean, I guess you are smaller, but...
Yeah.
You could have a small. There's a small, but whatever.
No,
that's fine. It will shrink slightly.
I used to hate hoodies, and then I rediscovered them because we got mail to our apartment, like the wrong address, and we opened it, which you're not supposed to do. I totally didn't do that. This is definitely a made up story. And it was a hoodie, and I was like living in it all of winter. So thank you.
Well, yeah, hoodies are just comfy. They're just cozy. And Ruben, I mean, he produced this in Peru for me. Like, he's absolutely destroying it. We're going to try to get Ruben on the podcast also very soon. Anyways, second gift. I'm trying to do this for everyone who is on the podcast, give them a Yu-Gi-Oh card from my collection that sort of represents them. So this is Dark Magician Girl, the Dragon Knight. Super badass word. If people know Yu-Gi-Oh, they know Dark Magician Girl is one of like the OG characters. Basically like Yugi's girl version of Yugi. Anyways, but I thought it fit you.
That's super cool.
Swag,
I've never...
Yeah, you don't really know about Yu-Gi-Oh, but you like tchotchkes, so I feel like you would like that.
Yeah, I'll put it in my photo card collection.
Yeah, there you go. And it's not like super rare or anything. I just have these sleeves because I'm kind of like a nerd, but...
Well, yeah. Well, because I'm into K-pop and I collect photo
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. I was going to say that's another rabbit hole. I just don't know enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you got to know what is like the reality of it. And if you can like stomach that, then you can enjoy the artistry of it. So, yeah.
No, I mean, dude, this is like something, again, the general narrative of this podcast is like, I like to champion when people wear their interests on their sleeves. Yeah. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, where they just are so into something, not judged or pushed by anyone. They're just into something. Well, and like, because you're very into K-pop.
Yeah, people like stereotype a lot. And like, a lot of the times it's valid, but then they also dismiss the people that like it for some other type of reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's like, that's why, again, I'm into you, and I respect you for that, not just for the YouTube, but like, you just like your shit and you do your shit and you wear it on your sleeve, and that's like, and like, maybe this is like a crazy thing and I'm surrounding myself with people who are like super shitty, but like, I feel like that's a weirdly unique trait in this day and age of people just like doing what they like pretty much, freely and just not caring what other people think, whatever, social anxiety. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's what I try to do that more and more. I keep trying to remind myself, like the whole fantasy book thing. It's like, what do I really like? What am I into? What do I want to do with my free time?
Yeah.
It's like, I want to read this shit, or like, I want to, paint or whatever. So it's like, I try to question myself and ask myself, what do I really want to do right now? What am I really into?
Yeah.
It seems like you do that too.
Yeah. And it's also like, okay, this might feel like an obscure like interest, but there's always going to be somebody out there that's like, doesn't think that anybody else likes it, but then once they see that somebody else is into it in the way that they are, they're like, wait, this is okay then. And like, or that, like, I don't know, but you get 100%. It. Yeah.
And it's like, if you're not doing something that you truly enjoy authentically because other people are judging you, or you think other people will think you're weird, it's like,
unless it's illegal,
rocks. Yeah, sure. But it's like, that's like that should be a mortal sin.
Yeah.
To not do things you like. All right. Well, on that note, anything else to add?
I think that's it. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Number 3, just nerding out. That's awesome. And I'm gonna maybe I'll try to read that book that is your favorite. Is it an easy read?
Oh yeah, it's very easy.
The
Stolen Songbird.
Stolen Songbird.
Yeah, it's like fairies, but like not like she doesn't label them as that. Like fairies are like all like FAE. Not like fairy, like pixie fairies.
Yeah.
FAE. I can't spell, but like that's like all the craze, like people love that, but this author, she didn't like label them as that, so they're called like trolls, but they're fairies, and so I guess that's why it's not as popular. And also, like, when I did booktube, I like prized myself on being different because I'm an Aquarius. So yeah. But I think the book was still good. Like, I was reading it the other day and I was like, wait, I still like this. Like, even though now I'm more
favorite book, so
yeah, I'm more mature of a reader and I understand things better and like things that go behind writing. But I still think it like holds up. It's not like the best book in the world, but like it's still like I like it.
How long is it?
Oh, like I don't know, probably 500 pages.
All right,
Nothing at all.
All right. Also, thanks for the drink.
Yep, you're welcome.
Delicious. All right. Bye, everybody.